Radyo-Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo-Katipunan. Down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo-Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, dunong at tulog. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting nagigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, tunong at tulong. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting at tigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
This is your stop for all things pop. Catch our all-around pop culture geek, Cholo Sediaren, as he throws in some dose of what's poppin' and what's hot in the pop culture scene here on Popcorn. Munchin' with us every Thursdays from 4 to 6, only here on Radyo-Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Okay, it doesn't talk anymore. In 2, 1. What's poppin', and welcome to Popcorn with Cholo Sediaren, your stop for all things pop, where we talk about all things pop culture from here in the Philippines, or as Jeremiah told us kanina, we're in District 12 now because of our outfits, to the rest of the globe. Welcome back, and it's that time of the year where, it's December. Merry Christmas advance to everyone. Pakonti na lang. We're down to our last, I think this is our second to the last show for the year before we head to the holidays. And this is kind of our year-end recap, and we're here today for our Spotify Rap 2021 or the Music of 2021 episode where we talk about all things music related. But before we begin our show, of course, let's welcome back our co-hosts for the day. Welcome back, Jeremiah.
Hello.
Hello. And we also have Emil. It's been a while. And
Hello.
our ever mysterious Dren is here. Um, you have to subscribe with the premium subscription to see what Dren looks like. At this point.
Yeah.
Baka naman Patreon exclusive.
OnlyFans. What?
Oh, no.
They do have wholesome content naman.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Kayo,
you know, if you know, you know. Ganun na lang. But anyway, we also have Perns on the show.
Hello.
Our Twitter verified. Kailangan talaga sabihin every
Oh,
time.
so close. So close.
Wala na kay
Akala ko
Emil
hindi
yung
na
ano.
Every time.
Oo nga eh. You didn't say anything for me, which is good.
Ayun na, binalik ko na. The Twitter, elusive Twitter. And of course, our female representation. We have
Wow.
Wow, ginawa mong token.
That.
the token.
Oh my
Hindi na siya
God.
token. She just happens to be present for a lot
So
of the times.
happens.
But we're happy she's here. Of
Thanks,
course.
guys.
Because that caters to our need to have representation and diversity. Just kidding.
Okay.
But I was
So
gonna
token
say,
nga.
And of course, we do love Paula's opinions on everything as well.
Okay.
But anyway, here we are. It's the end of the year, and as usual, for I guess this has been 3 to 4 years now of Spotify Wrapped, where Spotify gets all the data they know about you essentially and just puts it in a pretty form for you to share further on your social media. But you know, it's like a fun way of sharing to people what you've been listening to, what your habits are, what your guilty pleasures are. And you know, it's different for all of us. Spotify Wrapped, of course, this is a Spotify thing. To listeners of Apple Music, they do also have their own wrapped kind of like year-end recap. But Spotify, syempre, is like the number one streaming service, at least here in the Philippines. But before we begin with our own personal year-end recaps from our own Spotify accounts, let's run down muna kung sino ba ang pinapakinggan ng Pilipinas this year on Spotify. And this Spotify Wrap 2021 runs from, I think, January 1st to October 31st. So the last two months of the year aren't counted anymore. So if you were streaming Red Taylor's version for like endless loops, it isn't counted on your Spotify Wrap 2021, if you were wondering. So that's the streaming period. So any other albums that came after would not be counted on your algorithm because they were, I guess, with all that data you have to put in, they had to have like a cutoff, right? But anyway, let us begin with Spotify's 2021 recap for the Philippines and see who the Philippines has been streaming. And this comes to no surprise. The Philippines' most streamed artists in general, of course, at number 5, we have Ariana Grande. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. And at number 4, the only OPM artist in this list, we have Ben and Ben, who we just had an interview with 2 weeks ago. Go listen to that episode or watch that episode if you can. At number 3, we have Justin Bieber, who was really like, you know, gotten back up the ranks in the last few years and remains like a household name, I guess, for many people who listen to him. Number 2, also no surprise, we have Taylor Swift herself with the Folklore, Evermores, and the Taylor's versions that came out this year. There's been that much hype around Miss Taylor herself. And of course, can you guess who the number 1 most streamed artist in the Philippines is?
I wonder.
It starts with 3 letters.
I really wonder who.
It's Color Purple.
What a heck.
And they are I haven't heard of them actually, but they're called
Patay
BTS.
ka.
Just
That's
kidding.
very
Yeah,
brave
you're
of you.
You're
You
dead
should have
of
said-
soul.
brave of you.
I haven't
You should-
heard of them because the
They're
screams
this
of the
cute
world.
little indie artist. It's like-
The number one global artist, BTS,
Could you
Wow.
imagine?
who have
Deserve.
transcended K-pop into like global superstardom, of course, are the number one most streamed artist in the Philippines. Um, any comments on that? Well, this list isn't really any surprising. Parang there's no like surprising entries on the top 5 most streamed artists. And I mean, great music coming from these people. Although I haven't really been listening to Justin Bieber lately, or I mean, in general. But to know that there's still like a great majority in the Philippines listening to Bieber means the Bieber fever is still alive.
Means Filipinos really love Martin Luther King. Sorry, inside joke, sort of. Unless you've listened to the album.
I
but
mean,
anyway.
he's number 3, so
Yun nga,
He is
Yeah.
number 3. After Taylor
Congrats to
Swift.
Believers, like for still
Yeah.
being active after all of these years, I guess. I don't know.
And there were I listened to the latest album, which is Justice. And he did have like Peaches from there, which was a big hit earlier this year. And also gusto ko yung Lonely, yung song na Lonely. That was really
Yeah.
That's
a
a good
good
song.
cut out of that. And being in the spotlight as like 2011's global superstar of the world, it must really feel that way, being in that position and only like coming out with it after like all the years of whatever he went through. It's a lot of trauma for sure, being a child artist and like put into the global spotlight, right? Anyway, now we head on to the Philippines' most streamed OPM artists. Let's start with number 5. We have Arthur Nerry, who really blew up on the charts. There was a time Arthur Nerry's latest single, Pagsamo,
Pagsamo.
had like 500,000 streams a day, being the number one
Wow.
being the number one song in the Philippines in the top 200 for like a number of times. Only Adele for a time like bumped him off, but after a while he went back and claimed the spot again from Adele. And I think right now he's still the number one artist, if not after the whole Taylor's version era. So yeah, that's a pretty good rise up the ranks for Arthur Nerry this year. At number 4, also one of the rising stars of 2021 in the OPM scene, we have Zakhtar Budloh, who
Oh,
broke
Zach.
out this year with his song Bini Bini,
Bini
and
Bini.
just went all out with a new album called Episode and so many singles and music videos in between. That's Zakhtar Budloh, and he got a billboard in New York, Times Square, and got a lot of love from Spotify this year for sure. So naging soundtrack siya ng maraming Pilipino, Zakhtar Budloh, for this year. And the top 3 most streamed artists, we start with Skastakli, who remains one of the top hip hop artists in the modern times. And of course, at number 2, we have Moira de la Torre. It's starting to feel a bit like 2018 in this list. We have Moira, we had Paubaya earlier this year, which was a mega hit for Moira after a time. And of course, at number 1, reclaiming their spot in as the most streamed artist in the Philippines for 2021, we have Ben and Ben. So yes, congrats to them. I mean, the last 2 years, kasi I think we're December Avenue yung
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
artists, but Ben and Ben, I guess in the time of the pandemic, with the all the songs about healing and just really like getting into your emotions, especially after the last 2 years. I guess that accounts for the number of streams that Ben and Ben has received this year. And of course, that includes their latest album, which is called The Pebble House Volume 1, Quaderno. That's it's literally my OPM album of the year like no bias on there. I just really love that album. Yeah, and a lot of collabs and the opportunities that Ben and Ben has had this year, I think really contributed to that. And I guess, familiarity in times of pandemic is really king also in versus like really getting to listen to new things. And that I guess also relates to the Philippines streamed artists with Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber, BTS, sources of comfort for a lot of people, from the pre-pandemic days to up to today. So ayun. I guess let's just run down the most streamed albums real quick with number 5, Equal by Ed Sheeran. Number 4, BE by BTS.
Uh-huh.
Number 3, Fearless, Taylor's Version by Taylor Swift. Number 2, Justice by Justin Bieber. And number 1, Proud to be Pinoy, we have Sour by Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Nice.
Deserve.
Seventh
Yay.
time Grammy nominee, Olivia Rodrigo. Philippines most streamed songs for this year. At number 5, we have Leave the Door Open by Bruno Mars.
Oh,
Pinoy
Sonic.
Pride again.
Pinoy
yeah,
Pride.
let's go.
We also have At My Worst by Pink Sweats, which was one of the big hits earlier in 2021. Of course, the global phenomenon that is Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. Deserve. Number 2, of course, we have Smooth Like Butter by BTS. Like a criminal.
Undercover.
Undercover.
Undercover, yeah.
And at number 1, again, as we mentioned earlier, we have Binibini by Zakhtabudlo. I guess down to our last 2 categories that we're to report talaga. We have the Philippines most streamed local songs. Number 5, this is a newcomer in the scene, relatively new. We have Ikaw Lang by Nobita, which is a TikTok hit and also popular on the charts. We have at number 4, Dance With You by Skastakli and Yuri Dope. That was a really, really good song as well. And go watch the video. Sumasayaw talaga si Skastakli doon. I mean, it is called Dance With You. At number 3, surprisingly, wala siya sa other lists. But we have here Paraluman by Adi. Also a new artist on the rise in the OPM scene. Paraluman has been really streaming consistently since early this year. Parang February pa lang yata. And it's still, in the top 10 most streamed songs on the top 200 right now. So that's Paraluman by Adi. Number 2 is Nagangamba by Zakhtar Budloh. Honestly, this is something I really prefer over Binibini. Nagangamba supremacy ako sa Zakhtar Budloh. And at number 1, of course, we have Binibini by Zakhtar Budloh. And finally, we have the Philippines' most popular podcast with the advent of